Right, are we straight? No question. Okay, is the camera straight? So I've been doing photography for a couple of years now. I think it's coming up to 4 or 5 years, which is like crazy. And it's coming up to 1 year on YouTube, which is like unreal. How fast has that gone? I can't believe it, honestly. And I've only missed 1 week, but enough about that. Let's jump into this video. Some of you might know that I've been doing some client work, some product stuff, weddings, you know, you name it. But today I want to talk about the one tip that has generally helped my photography improve. And guess what? It's so simple. It's just using a prime lens, specifically my 35mm. And I've made so many videos about this, which I wouldn't have got into. Honestly, the 35mm has changed how I shoot since I've got it. And guess what? I've only got 2 lenses, the 35mm and the 24-105. So it's crazy how much this, a prime lens, has helped me shoot so much more and so much more, you know, consistently compared to the 24-105. Yes, both of them have their, you know, benefits and negatives and stuff, but we will get into that and we'll discuss that in this video. So let's get into it. Let's talk about why the prime lens has helped me shoot better, I guess. Or shall I say, why do prime lenses help me think differently? So firstly, I just want to say a zoom lens, I feel like it's definitely easy to get lazy, if you know what I mean. With a zoom lens, you pretty much stand still. I'm not saying there's no skill in it, by the way. I just want to say, like, with a zoom lens, you stand still, you twist with your hand, and you can figure out a composition within that, and obviously the focal length within your zoom lens. So with me, it's 24-105. I can either do really wide, which is at 24, which is really good, or I can just go zoom in on subjects and that's a picture taken for you. Do you know what I mean? But with a prime, you physically got to move forward to zoom in, move back to zoom out. You got to move side to side. You got to physically move. So when you start using a prime lens, you start, you know, realizing you slow down a lot more and you start looking at different, you know, compositions and stuff. And that's why it generally helps you think about your photograph that you're taking. So there's a lot more thought that's going into a prime lens than a zoom lens. As I said, both of them have their benefits and negatives. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm not saying it takes zero skill using a zoom lens. Obviously, zoom lens come in handy, obviously, for sports and stuff. Yeah, take it with a pinch of salt. Obviously, I love using zoom lenses as I love prime lenses, but that's why I just want to talk about how prime lenses actually help you become a better photographer, if that makes sense. As I said, like with prime lenses and zoom lenses, there is differences. But with my experience with prime lenses, I think more about composition, the aperture, and what to leave in frame and what not to leave in frame. Obviously, with 35mm, it's pretty wide compared to, you know, 50, 85, you know, 105. Prime lenses are, you know, more zoomed in, like 400mm or something, which is more for wildlife and sports, as I said. But with a 35 or lower, you know, focal length, you generally have to physically move. As I said, you got to move forward, you got to actually take your steps in, and you got to figure out your composition within that. And that's why I think it helps you with your composition, and your aperture, and you got to focus on what actually to leave in frame. And that's one of the benefits of using a prime lens. I feel like you are more present with taking photographs. With my experience anyway, you know, I shoot landscape and product stuff, and it makes me really think about how I place a subject, how I tell a story within a photo, and how do I capture the environment within that focal length. As I said, you got to move forward, backwards, you got to shimmy side to side. The better you know your camera and the better you know your lens, obviously it's going to take time. You just got to believe, keep yourself focused and not give up. It's hard coming from a zoom lens to a prime lens, or vice versa, a prime lens to a zoom lens. Both of them have their strong suits, and both of them come in very handy when shooting particular, you know, niches within the photography game. So I'm hoping this section has helped someone out there. I feel like you're either a prime shooter or you're a zoom shooter. For me, I'm both, but you tend to drift towards another lens, you know. And for me, it's mainly the prime. But for video, as I say, the 24-105 is just great because it's got in-body stabilization, so it really does help when shooting reels or B-roll stuff for YouTube. So yeah, using a prime lens definitely makes you more present, I would say, and it just helps you adjust the scene and thinking before pressing the shutter. And that's my experience with using a 35mm. But I'm definitely looking forward to testing out more prime lenses and zoom lenses on this channel. So if you are looking forward to seeing them future videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notification bells. Don't forget to do that. Also, another thing I feel like that's changed the most while using prime lenses is that it's changed my mindset. With my mindset using a prime lens, I know this is probably photography in general, but photos aren't delivered to you on a silver plate. Do you know what I mean? You've got to work for it. You got to figure it out. You just got to figure out before taking a photograph. And with a prime lens, I generally think you got to work hard for it. I'm not saying you don't have to work hard for using a zoom lens or anything, but working hard for a photograph, I feel like there's more meaning to it, and that's another thing that I generally like using a prime lens for. Yeah, I just wasn't rushing anymore. I wasn't relying on a zoom lens to, you know, zoom in or crop in to get a really good photograph. Using a prime lens honestly slowed me down, and I think that is one of the best tips in photography. Slowing down, I know I've mentioned this in a couple of videos ago, but slowing down is generally one of the best tips I figured out through myself, and I just want to share that through YouTube and keep telling you guys that slowing down is generally one of the best tips out there. And I feel like slowing down is a good thing because weirdly, I feel like you put more effort into the photograph. And obviously, the more effort you put into a photograph, the better the photos are going to be. So I guess that's a question for you guys. Have you noticed if you have slowed down, the better the photos you have taken? Let me know in the comments down below. So does it help? You know, does shooting a prime help? I honestly think, yeah, absolutely. But I still have them days where I don't have motivation, and there is days where nothing clicks. And that's one thing you've got to realise, guys, is that it's normal, even with experience, that photos aren't gonna be handed to you. And I feel like it's not just about gear either, it's, you know, your camera should be your teammate. And it's one of them, like, once you know how to handle it, the quicker you're going to change settings in, you know, the most crucial conditions. And I feel like that's how things start to flow a bit better to help you improve and make sure everything just goes smooth as possible. Not perfect, but smoother. And that's one thing we've got to take on board. So yeah, if you are at a stage right now where it just feels so frustrating and overwhelming, I get it. Honestly, it took me 3 to 5 years to fully understand and to get where I am today. Even now, like, I've still got a long way to go, and there's so much I can still improve on. And that's like the best thing about photography. Everyone's learning still. Even the most experienced photographers are still learning. And as I said the other video, photographers, you know, beginner photographers learn from professionals, and professionals learn from beginners, and that is like one bit of advice that will stick, you know, forever. So yeah, lately I've been struggling with motivation, especially in the creative aspects of things. I'm busy with, you know, client stuff and work stuff, and when it comes to my own personal creativity, it seems to, well, I've seemed to put it on hold. And I'm not sure if anyone else feels like that, but I just know it's going to take time for me to figure that out. And the one thing I know is not to give up and to just keep pushing on. And I feel like that's just one thing you got to remind yourself is don't give up. You know what I mean? Just don't give up. Yeah, you just got to keep showing up, even when the ideas aren't flowing. You know what I mean? I know the feeling of working, you know, full time in a creative world, in a creative job, shall I say. And when you do try to do some personal work, it doesn't feel the same, and it's just a phase, and we'll all come to it at some point, and we'll all come out of it at some point if we just believe, and as I said, not give up. So yeah, like as I said, it's just one thing I've got to work on. No one's perfect, and photography, it's a hard game, and being a creative, it's hard. People don't realise it, but yeah, it's one of the things I think most creatives do struggle with, is, you know, creative fatigue and trying to do personal stuff. But yeah, we've got each other's back. I feel like we went off on a tangent then. It seems to me that my videos just seem to be a therapy session, and I've said this a million times, but I feel like it needs to be said, you know what I mean? Anyway, the one tip that I feel like would definitely help photographers, or has helped me, is using a prime lens. So yeah, there you go guys, definitely try shooting on a prime lens, not because it's lighter, sharper, or you know, technical, it's because it makes you think. And lastly, let me know what has helped you improve the most. Was it a mindset shift? You know, was it a piece of gear, or was it something completely different? I would love to hear it. Thank you guys very much for watching, I really do appreciate it. Hopefully this has help someone out there. If it has, make sure to like the video and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on notification bells. There's a new video every single Wednesday at 6 PM. Ciao for now. Definitely try yourself some of this. Not sponsored, but all my days. This helps the brainwaves.